Kevin De Bruyne was interviewed after the game, after winning the league, and De Bruyne, one of the things he said was that this season was the most difficult of his career. He said that at a point earlier in the season, he was very low on confidence.
Hi, and welcome to Reggie's Football Show on Transit TV. I'm here again, back again with my man, Ogum, on this one to look at the games played this weekend, precisely the game against City and Chelsea. We'll look at Forest against Arsenal, Spurs played at home against Brentford, Liverpool against Aston Villa, and Brighton against Southampton. Ogum, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Reggie. Thanks to everyone joining us today. It's a pleasure to be on this show again. Like I was telling Reggie before we started the show, I'm deliberately wearing my Arsenal badge very proudly today. Against all the rhetoric that we're hearing on social media and hearing all over the place, people making fun of the Arsenal after the best season that they've had in quite a few years. We have everything to be proud of. I mean, Arsenal fans. I love my club. I support my club. I love what they've done this season, and the best is yet to come.
Okay, guys, before we go ahead on this one, actually, don't forget to subscribe to our show, our channel, if you have not done yet. So hit your notification button and like and share our video to your contacts. Oh, we are to start on this one, Ugum, other than Forest against Arsenal. Yes, for me, after Arsenal played Brighton, lost to Brighton, I knew the league was gone. The dream was gone. I remember our last video was titled "The End of the Dream." So I actually gave up, and I felt that there was not going to be any way City would lose 2 out of their 3 remaining games. But notwithstanding, this result was a shocking one. What's your take on that? Did you watch the game?
Yes, I watched the game. It was I wouldn't say it was shocking. I would say it was disappointing. I expected us not to play better than they did. First half was really bad. The lack of intensity. There was no good plan. It looked like Mikel Arteta set the team up in the wrong way with the wrong players. Playing Xhaka more towards the left back, playing Partey at right back, and the team was pretty flat. KVO tried to play out of the back as much as he could. It just wasn't working. Nottingham Forest knew what they needed to do. They clogged the middle, the build-up areas, clogged the middle everywhere, and it was really hard for Odegaard and Saka to operate. Saka was lethargic. Odegaard, tried his best, but it just didn't work. I thought the setup of the team was weird, and there's a narrative out there that many times when the chips are down, our coach Arteta, tends to try to some experiments that make him look bad when they don't work. But to be fair to him, I listened to his interview after the game, and he mentioned that there are quite a few players that were sick. Quite a few players could not train, so it was hard to really set up the team the way that he wanted to set up the team to play against Nottingham Forest. It was hard to lift the players. He tried to lift them, lift their spirits, and get them ready. But because of some illnesses, one of them being Reece Nelson, wasn't even in the squad at all because he was sick, and a few other players had injuries and sickness. So I think that may be why he was forced to, play Partey right back and all that. We had Tierney on the bench. Everybody expected Tierney to start. Everybody expected Emile Smith-Rowe to get something, but he tried, Fabio Vieira instead of Emile Smith-Rowe. So yeah, apart from that, the game was like I said, first half was woeful from Arsenal. The person that frustrated me the most was Gabriel Jesus. I thought he had probably his worst game that I've seen so far in an Arsenal shirt. He was trying too much and achieving very little, trying to force the ball into the net, being very snappy with his the chances that he got. I expected him to just calm down and just flow with the game and let the chances come to him and for him to take those chances. But he didn't take his chances, and I was left with a bad taste in my mouth regarding Gabriel Jesus. I'll stop there for now. I don't know what you think.
Yes, now that you mentioned, I want to talk about Mikel Arteta. You know, I'm a very ardent supporter of his. I've defended him even when it looks obvious that, and somebody that I believe that is a coach I believe that doesn't repeat his mistakes. But against Forest, regardless of what you talked about earlier on about players being sick and not being available for the game, I believe that he repeated almost exactly the same mistake that he made last season that made us, slimly miss top four to Tottenham. And why do I say that? Just like you rightly mentioned, playing Partey at right back and playing Xhaka at left back. These were exactly the same things that he did last season, and he cost the team a lot of points. Now, Xhaka is a player that we know that has really been one of the outstanding performers for Arsenal this season. But last season's history says that he has never, you mentioned it in our last show that your friend calls him a locomotive. Xhaka is not mobile. He's not a player that gets around the pitch freely and quickly. Play him at left back is not going to be one of the best options. Like you mentioned, Tierney was on the bench. For him to be fit enough or to be on the bench, I believe he should be fit enough to start the game. So I still cannot explain why Xhaka was playing left back when Tierney was on the bench. Playing Partey on the as right back, I don't also understand that decision. You have Kivio fit, you have Gabriel Magalhaes fit, you have Ben White fit. Did Ben White play that game? He did. So I don't understand some of those decisions. And this was exactly what he did at the end of last season, and it cost Arsenal dearly the top four. I understand when it comes to motivation, I kind of can call him a slack because I don't know how to motivate those guys. It's going to be very difficult. I knew it was coming to this. It's going to be very, very difficult to motivate those guys to give it their all because of the disappointment we have had in the last 2-3 weeks. On to the contrary, Forest is going to come with a lot of bad load of motivation because they have been doing well at 12-1 and they were on the brink of surviving the drop. So I knew that Arsenal was going to have a problem coping with the motivation they were coming with. But the decisions that Arteta made in terms of his team selection, I don't really understand, and I agree with him on that. And I believe he largely, regardless of the players that were fit, cost Arsenal this game. That's my take on that. Let's not make it about Arsenal. Let's talk about Nottingham Forest. What do you think was it for them that got them these 3 points?
Good coaching. I read their coach. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's a cool guy, and I think he's a really committed fellow. I've watched him even right from their playoffs when they were in the championship before coming up. He's a committed guy that knows how to set his team up and prepare his team. While doing that, he's also respectful on the touchline, handles himself really well. And so he set up his team properly yesterday. I'm happy for Taiwo Ewoli, a fellow Nigerian, um, who got the goal against Arsenal. He's been huge for Nottingham Forest. He scored 10 goals for a relegation threatened side. This was a young man that Liverpool had on their books, but he didn't end up playing even a single game for Liverpool. And so he did really well for Nottingham Forest. They have this Morgan Gibbs White that the coach gave the freedom to roam behind Taiwo Ewoli. I was surprised he dropped Johnson, who was one of their best players, one of their best forwards, and just played Taiwo and had Gibbs White get behind him and then played, a flat, midfield five or so with three defenders. I think he played, was it 3-5-1-1 or something like that. And so they played well. They were set up really well. They knew what they had to do. They had to close the spaces where typically Odegaard and Saka would do their 1-2 with Jorginho. They'll do their, 1-2 touch, triangular passes and penetrate and get in. A couple of times, like Arsenal were able to beat that with quick exchange of inter passes, and then Jesus managed to not waste those chances. So credit to Nottingham Forest. I thought they were set up really well. I thought they were committed, like you said, and they had the 12th man that every solid club in the EPL can always count on the fans. The fans were there, backing them up, cheering their every move, supporting them, and they were able to get their reward. I mean, as disappointed as I was with Arsenal losing that game, I was quite. It was balanced by my happiness for Nottingham Forest. I wanted them to escape relegation.
Yes, I think you mentioned all the highlights of the performance on this game. First of all, Nottingham Forest have lost just 2 games out of the last 12 at home this season.
Wow. Wow.
The last 12. So that tells you that it was not going to be a walk in the park for Arsenal. And like you rightly mentioned, their fans are always behind and loud behind them. And this has been pushing them through. And like you mentioned as well, their coach is somebody for the club to have given him a new contract at a time when the club was really soaked into the relegation battle. That tells you how much they rate him in that stadium, being Cooper. So I think, like you rightly said, he is a very, very good coach, and he's respected around the blocks, at Nottingham Forest. I was going to talk about him as well, comparing to Jesus. Looking at where Nottingham Forest are, and thinking about how many chances they probably will be getting in every game across the season. For him to have scored 10 goals tells you a lot compared to Jesus playing for Arsenal, who also has 10 goals. It tells you a lot about his qualities. So I believe they really did very well. Like you said, they were really properly coached. I think we'll spend a little bit of time on this one. We'll move to City against Chelsea. Played this afternoon. Yes, without kicking a ball today, City were already crowned champions of the EPL this season. But there are still some talking points in that game. I don't know if you have any before I go ahead and drop a few hours out.
Yeah, please go ahead. I wasn't able to watch that. I haven't been able to watch the game completely because I was in church. So please go ahead.
Yeah, to start with, City made 9 changes to the 11 that said against Real Madrid on Wednesday, and they still played Chelsea like they were playing their under 22 team. Of course, they were already crowned champions. And talking about motivation, that for me should have even given Chelsea something to work with, hoping that, believing that City players obviously win or lose, we are already champions of the EPL. But still, you could see they were even more motivated than Chelsea. The quality they had on their bench, like the commentator mentioned, that it was really, I don't even know where to start from that one. But I want to talk about Chelsea a little bit. It baffles me. I don't know if you are aware that the highest assist in the team for EPL this season for Chelsea is Luka Modric. And he has just 2 assists.
Michaela Modric?
Yeah, Michaela Modric.
Or Luka Modric?
Michaela Modric.
Okay.
They have mixed it up there. Yeah, Modric.
Yeah.
He has
2 assists. Oh my goodness.
So that tells you Chelsea has had problem of scoring goals all season. For them to have 2 assists for their highest assist for the season, it tells you a lot. Yeah. I don't even know where the other goals came from. Probably, I don't know if they shared it one across the team. It was mentioned today in the commentary. I mean, I heard that. I had to look it up, and it was very, very. I couldn't believe it. With the quality that they have their problems. I know managerial problems, but the quality that Chelsea puts out on the pitch every weekend or every time they go on the pitch, even without a coach, they should be able to get some results. Yeah. Chelsea has, in the last 4 months, they have struggled to move from 33 points to 43 points, 10 points in like 4 or 5 months. I don't know who. Yes, Lampard has failed. Lampard has lost 6 out of the last 8 games, and he has lost, I think, 12 of his last 16 entire game, both including for the ones he played in Everton. I understand that. But the quality that Chelsea has on the pitch every weekend, I don't think there's any excusing the fact that they can't just score goals, they can't win games, they look flat, they look ill motivated. It looks like a bunch of people picked up on the street, to go play a game. And I don't even know where to go. I know they're going to have a show to review the season, different clubs and the league improperly. Probably will look in depthly on this one. I hope you prepare for it, because you really need to look at Chelsea and try to figure out what is going on with that club, because it's really very shameful this season. You can say all you want to say about the manager that have been brought in. You can say anything you want to say about the owner, the way he's been trying to run the club. But the one thing you cannot deny is the quality that they put on the pitch every weekend. I don't think there's something really fundamentally wrong with the club and what is going on in the club right now. And we'll be looking at that in the coming weeks at the end of the season. We'll move on to sports.
Go ahead. Please, before you move, on the contrary, Manchester City, their success is well documented. The quality they have is well documented. The fact that they have a genius of a coach, the best in the world, clearly, as far as I'm concerned, is well documented. But there are two things that I've noticed today that left me, man, I'm just wondering. Kevin De Bruyne was interviewed after the game, after winning the league, and De Bruyne, one of the things he said was that this season was the most difficult of his career. He said that at a point earlier in the season, he was very low on confidence. He was finding it hard to get into the team. And that the likes of Gundogan, Ika, and the other central defender, Diaz, they kept encouraging him. He felt he was trying his best, but he wasn't getting into the team. And these guys kept encouraging him until he found his confidence again. And then he started playing. And I'm wondering, this is Kevin De Bruyne. This is Kevin De Bruyne. This is Kevin De Bruyne, clearly one of the best players in the world. And he's talking about being low on confidence and not being able to get into his Manchester City team. And I'm wondering what kind of culture and what kind of style that Pep Guardiola has built into a team that one of the best players in the world is struggling, low on confidence to get into the team. I mean, which other team can you talk about now that a player of the caliber of Kevin De Bruyne will tell you he's low on confidence, he's not sure he's good enough to get into the team? That's number one. Number two is Jack Grealish. I listened to Jack Grealish's interview, and they asked him, your game has improved. You took your game to the next level. What happened? What did the coach tell you? How did he get you to start playing this way? Grealish said that that Guardiola never spoke to him about anything. The only thing that Pep did was, for a stretch of 9 to 10 games, Pep started him every time, no matter his performance. He said that after playing 5 consecutive games or so for City, he pinched himself and like, I'm starting for City. I'm playing. This coach, despite what's going on, whether I play well or I don't play well, he's still playing me. You see, that was an infusion of confidence for him. And he took his game to the next level. Right? So Pep didn't really need to tell him anything, didn't really say anything. He just kept playing him, filling him with confidence, telling him, I trust you, without saying it with his mouth. So, I mean, this guy, Guardiola, is a master in, I don't know, would I say motivation, or would I say in man management, or whatever it is? Arteta is suffering so many issues regarding players now because he hasn't probably achieved success. If a coach achieves a certain level of success, and makes decisions, they will call it genius. But if you haven't achieved success and you make certain decisions, they will say you are learning on the job and you don't know what you're doing, right? So these two things really drove the point home what kind of culture and how Pep has been managing his players, managing their minutes. No player has played all the games for City, not even close. You have players that will play for a couple of months, and all of them are star players at the highest level.
Yes, like you mentioned right there, that also brings me, before we move to Spurs, Brighton, Brentford. And one thing I want to say is, the other day I was watching an interview by Thierry Henry on with Pep, and Thierry Henry said something to him, and Pep's response was that, yes, you can say what you want to say about me, but it's largely about the players and their quality. And why did I mention that? When you talk about Grealish and Kevin De Bruyne, a lot of times people have questioned Arsenal players in the past mentality. I think it's the people that make decisions in City deserve a lot of credit. And Pep always says it. Those guys are the ones that made the decisions. People that made their researches on players before they are signed. Those are the people I think we should give credit on what you just mentioned now. Because I give you an example in Arsenal, for instance. They brought in Zinchenko, and Tierney has been struggling to get minutes. And all we are hearing every day, Tierney wants to leave. As we speak, Tierney, I think, is one leg gone out of Arsenal going to Newcastle just because he's not getting minutes. So what does that tell you? His mentality. Instead of him to sit down and say, no, I was playing before this guy got here. Let me sit down and fight for my share. One thing is that the way Zinchenko plays left back is different from the way Tierney plays, but he can develop it. And there's no way Zinchenko is going to play all the games. Tierney, when he was the first choice, we missed a lot of games due to injury. He couldn't even stay fit. So now, all of a sudden, you want to go because you're not getting minutes. And the team was suffering last season because he couldn't even stay fit. So it all boils down to mentality. And whoever that makes decisions and makes the research on players before they are brought to City, it shows some level of strong mentality in those players, both with Grealish, what you just said about Grealish and KDB. So that's what I want to point out, that I've thought about it. I'm saying that there has to be something magical that City are doing beyond Pep Guardiola, beyond the pitch, the players being on the pitch. There are some people at the back end, as they say in IT industry, that really, they take their time. They are very meticulous in signing players. And that's why it's difficult. Recently, it's been difficult for players to come to City and not succeed, even when they're not playing. So we move to Spurs Brentford. This is another very interesting one. Tottenham Hotspur can't just win games. These guys can't just win games. They can't stay on their feet or be in the game for 90 minutes. It's no longer in news, but there are two players I want to mention. I want to ask you what you think about them. One of them is Harry Kane. Regardless of what goes on in Tottenham Forest, no matter how badly they play, he still manages to score goals. What can you say about him?
He's an incredible forward. He's an incredible footballer. I've watched him as an Arsenal fan. I do not like anything Tottenham, but my goodness, Harry Kane is a master player. He's a really, really good player. And I'm not talking about just scoring goals. I mean, the guy scores all kinds of goals, but that guy in the final third, the line between the center of the circle and the 18-yard box is as devastating as any attacking midfielder you can find in the world. I mean, that's why I think that for the next 5 years, it will be relevant. It's not about just scoring goals. Plays that Harry Kane, as long as he can walk and he can run a little bit, his brain is advanced, his passing is advanced. He passes on the floor, he does the early pass just like Kevin De Bruyne. He can bend it from any side and place it in front of the striker, mainly because he already has the instinct of a striker. He knows if you make the right run, he's going to find you, right? It's not a coincidence that Heung-min Son has scored so many goals. Heung-min Son has scored so many goals, from Harry Kane's assists. So the guy he's a good player. He knows how to hit the ball. I mean, he's one of the cleanest hitters of the ball I've seen in the world
I was going to
game today.
mention that.
Yeah.
I was going to mention
Yes.
that.
The technique is top class. He knows how to hit the ball to get it where he wants to get it. And if you have that thing, you have it. You know, some people build it up over time, some people learn it, but some people just have it. Right. So yeah.
Yeah, the second person I was going to mention is Yves Bissouma. And summer last season, on the last couple of years, been linked to us. And this is a player you and I have watched and talked about so many times. And when Tottenham managed to sign him, for us, it was like a failure of a transfer by Arsenal. This guy has moved to Tottenham and cannot even get into the team. And when he plays, he looks like a shadow of himself. I don't know. I remember one time when Conte was in the club, they interviewed him. He said he was improving tactically, and I was taken aback. I was like, improving tactically, that he can't get into this team. You spoke on the other, on City about confidence. So I kind of feel that moving to Tottenham and being treated the way Anthony Conte treated him, he has lost a lot of confidence and has really affected his game. Basuma is no longer the player that he used to be. He was a very massive part of what Brighton built the last 2-3 seasons, and almost every top team in EPL, their fans were raving for him and wanting their club to sign him. But all of a sudden, all that is in the past now. I don't know what you can attribute that to.
It's a weird case. I would attribute it to yes, a dip in confidence and not being a good fit. You know, I wondered why after all the links, Arsenal refused to buy that guy. When it happened, I wondered what was going on. Scouts look at so many things. The only advice I would give Besuma now is find your way back to Brighton. Brighton just qualified for Europe. They're in Europa next season. That's amazing for a player. You know, it's his comfort zone. Well, I won't call it comfort zone, but it's a familiar territory for him. They play great football. If by any chance Caicedo leaves, I think Brighton should just go back and get the Summit back into the team. He will just fit in like a glove and continue where he was 2 seasons ago. Unfortunately, the guy seems to have lost his way. And if he continues for another season, you probably will not. You will hear him playing for a second division side in France or somewhere else. You know, he really needs to make a decision this summer whether he wants to stick with Tottenham. I don't think it's a good fit for him. It hasn't worked at all so far. He should find his way out of Tottenham as soon as possible. We've seen this player. We know what he can do. Hopefully, with confidence and with the right team, he'll be able to flourish again.
Yeah, like they said, selling a player is between three teams: the player, the selling team, and the buying team. Tottenham paid a lot of money for him, so I don't know how it's going to be for Brighton, considering how much they're charging for their players now to get him back. That's going to be a very difficult one. We'll move to Liverpool, Aston Villa. Liverpool won, Aston Villa won. Aston Villa makes it to Europe, I think, Conference League, and Liverpool lost the slimmest chance they had to make top four, to go above, because they would have been the same point with Man U a game in hand, and they would have had superior goal difference. That would have taken them into top four, but they lost this one. I'm not going to talk about Liverpool. A lot of people about them throughout the season. I want to look at Emery, their coach, and Watkins, the striker that they have in the club. If you have a few things to say about these two individuals and the success that the club has managed to achieve this season.
I think he's been amazing. Emery, you can see his qualities. Really good coach. Really, really solid character. You can see he's a student of the game. You can see he knows what he's doing. The rumor has it, fables have it that by the time he finished doing his presentation when he was interviewing for the Arsenal position, everybody clapped because the man is sound. obviously. From the way he manages his teams, you know he's sound. He knows what he's doing. He's transformed Aston Villa using the likes of Tyrone Mings and the rest of them, made them to a unit. Jacob Ramsey, he's brought out the best in him. And then he's turned Watkins, like you mentioned, into one of the best strikers in the EPL. His runs, the way he handles the ball, the way he pressures the defenders, the way he makes runs, and he's even had the likes of Emilio Buendia, that came with a good reputation, but wasn't really living up to it. He's brought him back to life. Buendia is playing so well now, assisting, working. So these two individuals we mentioned are really the two major reasons, in addition to others, for the renaissance we're seeing with Aston Villa. But please permit me say one or two things about Liverpool. Liverpool, I think, got a bit careless. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know who made the decision by Liverpool not to invest in their midfield. Maybe they felt that with the success that they've had and the juggernaut that they built themselves into over the past few years, that they were going to continue doing it like that, managing like that, and just pressurizing teams and playing upwards of 50, 60 games every season, and just keep game pressing every game without the players getting tired. Look at what City has done. City went ahead and bought Calvin Phillips that they've hardly even used, right? They refreshed their team with some solid Murphy Akanji and all that. Now Liverpool thought they could just keep riding on the wave of what's his name, their star defender, and yeah, they felt they could get rid of key pieces like Sadio Mane, and they could be all right. But they've seen, unfortunately, I am a little. I'm sorry to Liverpool fans, but I would say this: I think it would have been unfair for Liverpool after the season and the way they played this season to get back and creep into top four. They were not consistent enough. Yes, they've been consistent lately, winning 7 games on the stretch. But then other teams have been more consistent than them. Manchester United, Newcastle, they've worked and worked and worked and worked. It would have been very unfair for Liverpool to eliminate those teams at this point and get into top four.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. I agree with all you have said. We'll look more in depth in some of these clubs at the end of the season and really look at what they did wrong, what they got right, and going forward, what they should do to maintain their status or probably even become stronger in the coming season. Congrats to Brighton. That should be the next game. Brighton has qualified for Europe. Regardless of what happens on the last day of the season, they're going to be playing Europa. They beat Southampton at home 3-1. Very, very massive congrats to them. It's on record. There's nothing to talk about Brighton. They've been the wonder team of the season. Consistency, like you mentioned earlier on, has been a watchword for them. They have remained consistent and very, very loyal and loyal to the way they play. The way they play, that has been very, very important to me. Brighton, regardless of who they play against, they have the way they play and they continue to play that way, and they have brought them success. Massive congrats to them. We'll run through the remaining results of the weekend. Manchester United, for me, have confirmed their top four qualification by beating Bournemouth. Bournemouth was at home. Fulham played at a 2-2 draw with Crystal Palace. Massive shout out to Roy Hodgson. He has done it again. Somehow, that old man wouldn't retire. He continues to do it. He has pulled Crystal Palace from relegation. And you can imagine that even above Chelsea in the table as we speak. Wolves played at a 1-1 with Everton. Everton is narrowly escaping relegation, depending on what happens between Leicester and Newcastle on Monday. Then today, West Ham beat Leeds United 3-1 at home, and that's it for the weekend. Thank you for coming on to the show as usual today, Ugum. Guys, before we go, I remind you one more time, I know you're enjoying our show. Before we go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Hit the notification button to remind you or to get notification when we drop our videos, especially the one we have coming up on Wednesday, the massive conversation or interview we had with a former football player, a Nigerian-born German international who had a conversation between I and Ugum That interview will be dropping on Wednesday. Very massive and serious tips to navigate this career he dropped with us. And he's also involved in some grassroots development programs, which will be bringing to you, serving you on that show and on that video. So look out for it and stay tuned on this channel. Ugu, do you have anything to say to the viewers before we go?
It's always my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity to interact with all the fans of the channel. Please continue to share, press the like button and please share, subscribe, encourage your people to watch, and let's keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, good to have you. It's always a massive pleasure to have you. Like I said, guys, we are going to be at New York. We're going to be in LA to bring you content on the off-season games for Arsenal. Arsenal will be playing the Barcelona, as we all know, in LA, Los Angeles, and then we're playing against Manchester United in New York, 22nd and 26th of July. Look out for content on those programs, on those matches, on those preseason games. At the end of the season as well, precisely on the June 11th, we shall be having what we call fan fiesta. Several fans of different clubs shall be coming together to review the season. We shall be picking the Europe team of the season. We shall be picking the EPL team of the season, manager of the season, strikers and players of the season. We shall be looking at how different teams performed this season, what their clubs or their fans think they should do better going into next season, and what they have done well this season. So all that shall be serving you at the Fan Fiesta. That event shall be coming on the 11th of June this year, at the end, after the finals of the UEFA Champions League. Look out for that and stay with us on the channel. It's good to have you, and thanks for watching. Bye for now.